On September 9th, Ingrid Yang could be found cramped over a desk, left foot asleep, right hand swollen. She had Xiao-Wen Chou on the mind. So much so, she felt his allusions and alliterations leaking from her every orifice and puddling beneath her. She was sucking on the ends of her hair, then sniffing the damp locks, before picking at the eczema patches on her ankles. Her aching eyes were marbled pink from a sleepless night, punctuated by unnecessary trips to the bathroom. She simply idled on the toilet with her eyes closed, nothing going out of or into her body. Even on the rare occasions sleep visited, Ingrid was plagued by a constant pinching pain in her stomach. Sometimes she imagined, hopefully, that she was developing ulcers. No one could fault her for failing her dissertation because of stomach ulcers, could they? Pneumonia, then? What about mono? But how to contract these illnesses was another question entirely. The black market was the obvious choice, but then again, so was an undergrad frat party. Pulling her laptop close, she searched fastest way to contract mono, followed by top 10 deathly illnesses. No, Ingrid Yang was not doing well. She was 29 years old and in mounting debt from her undergraduate degree. 4 years ago, she had passed her comprehensive exams and started her dissertation. This year, the 8th and final year of her PhD, her funding would run out. An unhappy situation in any circumstance, but compounded by the expiration of her student loan deferral. Somehow, in spite of all this financial doom and gloom, this was also the year she had to produce 250 pages on Xiao-Wen Chou. And not just any 250 pages, they had to be shockingly original and convincing. Enough to pass muster with her exacting advisor and an even more exacting dissertation committee. Enough to secure her the prestigious postdoc fellowship established in Xiao-Wen Chou's name. But after hundreds of hair-pulling hours spent at the archive, all she had accomplished was 50 pages of scrambled notes on Chou's use of enjambment, plus an addiction to antacids. Make no mistake, it wasn't like she hadn't tried. She had come up with ideas of her own. The eternal inner conflict between Eastern selflessness and Western individuality in Chou's poetry. The immigrant's assimilation into American society as endless negotiation in Chou's poetry. Chou's poetry and the impossibility of cultural translation. Chou's poetry and the longing for irretrievably lost motherland and mother tongue, etc. The problem was some other scholar had, of course, snatched up the idea first. No other Chinese-American poet had been so widely read in America, had been so consistently reprinted year after year. The so-called Chinese Robert Frost was taught to students in high schools and colleges all across the country, and occasionally in gifted middle school classes. In every bookstore and library, a good 12 inches of space was reserved for his prolific work. Even those who wanted nothing to do with literature, who couldn't tell you Chou's name, much less how to spell it, had bumped into his poems. In dentist offices, middle-class homes, and ethnic restaurants, his quotations adorned boxes of tea, wall decorations, and watercolor calendars. Xiao-Wen Chou was beloved, more so after he passed away from pancreatic cancer 7 years ago. What could Ingrid possibly offer on the late canonical poet that no one else had? She had memorized Chou's poems backwards and forwards, rifled through innumerable archive boxes, worn out her copy of his biography, read incomprehensible secondary sources, read them a third time. She'd even attended a pricey international conference in New York in the hopes of gently plagiarizing some Argentinian or Swedish scholar's paper. When she was still a TA, she had surreptitiously assigned her undergrads essay prompts that fed directly into her own research. She had let her other interests fall to the wayside, not to mention healthy eating and exercise. She had postponed her wedding for another year. From the moment she woke up to the moment she pretended to sleep, Chowian sonnets, villanelles, odes, and elegies consumed her. What more could she do? Hire a ghostwriter? Alas, Ingrid was approaching the problem as though it held a logical solution, but her dissertation woes were preordained from the start. She had never wanted to research Chou in the first place.